Well, there you have it. That happened just a short while ago out of the North Gauteng High Court in Pretoria. Judge Masopa handing down a life sentence to Nicholas Ninow for the rape of that little girl who was 7 at the time. She is now 8. He also sentenced him to 5 years each for possession of drugs and defeating the administration of justice. Let's go back now to the court where my colleague Aviwe Mtila has been covering this trial for us, and indeed also the pre-sentencing process over the last 2 days. Aviwe, when you spoke to the MPA just after that sentencing was handed down, they were very quick to say that they commended the investigating officer and prosecutor for their sterling work that they've done on this matter and bringing it to this point. The EFF not entirely happy because they were looking for a harsher sentence and they wanted the charge of attempted murder. But in the end, one of the biggest criticisms we've heard of the justice system is that when it comes to crimes around gender-based violence and especially rape and sexual assault, it falls down at the level of investigation and bringing it to court.
Well, Marcel, I want to put that very issue to the ruling, the governing party, really, the African National Congress, in terms of what stricter measures are they really doing to curb gender-based violence, because you'd understand this is just a drop in the ocean. This victory for many women out there and children out there and society as a whole is basically just a drop in the ocean and a scourge that's really gotten out of hand off late. We have people in government, we have a party that's in charge, and I'm joined by that very spokesperson to pose those questions directly. The ANC is not doing enough. I'll put it bluntly to you in terms of curbing gender-based violence. What measures should the society expect?
Look, consistent with what our president has said, President Cyril Ramaphosa, that we must have harsher sentences against perpetrators of gender-based violence. An example is what we have seen today. But we still have to get our lawmakers to do more, because you cannot have sentences which are not properly sanctioned by law. I mean, you can say life, 25 years, plus another 5 years for drugs, plus another one is 35 years. In terms of our parole laws, this person, once he has served 1/3 of his sentence, he qualifies for a parole. So it means in 15 years he will be out. So what we need to do is to have appropriate sanctions. If somebody has raped a minor, it must be known 125 years or 150 years. It must be properly tabulated and legislated, because as it is now, it's free for the judiciary. Now, lawmakers need to direct the judiciary on the appropriate sanctions. That's what we'll do to lobby our caucus of the ANC in Parliament to amend the laws, including to amend the parole law, so that the story of 1/3 and all people having almost equal rights, both the victim and the perpetrator, cannot be fair. Because so far we've spoken about the rights, and the rights normally covers the perpetrators, but what about the victim? Because now this particular perpetrator will sleep at the cost of the taxpayer at 400 rand per day with 3 meals. What about the victim? The poor child's life is destroyed, and it's unfair.
I just want to quickly put it to you. It's all fair and well to want to remedy the perpetrators once they've been found out. But what about the women out there who pass red robots because they fear of being attacked or any instances at home? How do we prevent it from even happening and coming to court?
Look, what we need to prevent is to ensure that we strengthen the law, but also to put up public awareness program, put up public education program for our boys at an early age to understand that the relationship between a man and a woman is a relationship that is natural. There is no way that a man can be a perpetrator which must forever abuse a woman or even a girl child, because as far as it is now, from the latest statistics of the police, almost 20,000 people were killed in our country, and over 60% of them are women and young girls. And that is very much unfair, because it clearly demonstrates that we're a nation at war with itself. There's a silent civil war. If more than 20,000 people can die out of violence, femicide and other related crime activities, it cannot be fair. I think those who are in charge of the law, in particular our lawmakers, must get appropriate laws which can ensure that perpetrators and all criminals, they get the necessary and appropriate sentences. And we must reduce the number of rights that we have given to the perpetrators in prisons, to understand that there's a law in this country and we can all be equal. There cannot be an equality between the perpetrator and the victim.
Thank you very much. That is the ANC spokesperson, basically painting a picture that we are a nation at war with ourselves. But I'll put it directly and bluntly as it is, that we are a nation at war with our women and a nation at war with our children. My question is, when will the talking stop, and when will politicians, as well as the whole of society, really grapple with the scourge of gender-based violence that we've seen in our country? This is just a drop in the oceans in terms of this Nicholas Ninow victory of him being found guilty and in fact sentenced to life imprisonment with 2 other 5-year sentences.
Thank you very much for that, Avim Tila. They're giving us the latest, as well as some reactions from political entities that are happening in the court.